So, the world is changing around us and we need to be able to adapt to that change, and nowhere more so than in the world of defence. Digitalisation is at the heart of the future defence strategy, as the three areas that we fought battles on for the past century or so, land, air and sea, expands into two new areas, space and cyberspace. The UK Ministry of Defence is already taking giant strides to change in order to meet the new opportunities and to recognise the new threats. Well, we're joined now by Jonathon Gill, the UK Head of Defence and Aerospace for global professional services and advisory firm KPMG, to share some thoughts about this new direction. So, Jonathon, welcome.
Thank you.
We've seen the need for digitalisation and big data in the civil world. Can you explain why is it important for defence to go the same way?
Well, that's a really good question, Alan. And I think the reality is defence is no different to any other industry or sector or our lifestyles. Digital technology plays an important role in defence. And more we've seen actually our phones using digital and technology in particular to exploit the way people think or the way they perceive certain images, as we've seen across in places like Ukraine. So more and more technology has a role to play in the broader levers of defence.
Yeah, but it isn't really about fighting wars in trenches on battlegrounds anymore, is it? It's a completely new battleground. We're being forced to defend our own infrastructure in a completely different way. I'm thinking of cyber attacks on facilities like the vaccine producers.
Yeah, and I think the Prime Minister spelt it out very nicely when he launched the integrated review back in November. Technology is revolutionising warfare. And you've touched on examples there around, for example, the pharmaceutical industry. Behind the scenes, there are always going to be cyber attacks, and therefore industry needs to defend itself, as well as the nation needing to defend itself. But more and more, you're seeing the use of autonomous systems, AI, virtual reality, synthetic environments, quantum computing, and that's totally transforming defence. And as a consequence, we as a country need to be prepared and able to defend ourselves, but also think about the prosperity agenda and how we defend the infrastructure in the country as a consequence of that.
So if it's a kind of arms race effectively, but now in technology and data management, how do we win that race?
Well, we've got to be creative. We've got to start early, which we have. If you think about the Defence Digital Strategy as has been launched, but also how defence works with industry and engages with industry in a collaborative way. So therefore, we can agree standards and operate from single versions of the truth. But I think also it's an arms race for the right skills and having a diverse, inclusive workforce, which is technologically savvy, is equally important, as well as having the best technological solutions and apparatus.
Okay, so reduced demand for feet on the ground, if you like, for our armed forces, but increased demand for the right talent to design and develop digital solutions. Where's all that talent going to come from?
So the talent, I suppose, exists already within defence and defence industry. So it's about harnessing that. And then it's thinking about building pipelines of future skills and future talent that's needed. And that'll start through the education system, but then also how the department itself, as well as industry, work better together, collaborate in order to kind of have that joint of talent. And then also looking at adjacent industries and how you can actually draw in talent from adjacent industries.
Well, now, in the UK, I know we've got a large, good defence industry, but it's made up by a lot of SMEs with small numbers of people there. What do they have to do to be part of this digitalisation and not be left behind?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think it is understanding how MOD itself is on that transformation journey. And as a consequence of that, how they need to react and respond in order to work with the MOD in a more collaborative way. And I think you've seen very clearly through the defence digital strategy that MOD has set out a very clear articulation around how the digital backbone is going to work across the enterprise. And I think it's a matter of how industry now needs to respond to that and actually make sure they're also able to work in a similar way. And it goes back to my point I was making earlier, proper collaboration, agreeing standards, and operating from single versions of the truth. So we're able to manipulate data and also, more importantly, think about how we use different skill sets across the board.
But do you see SMEs being prepared to collaborate with those people that they might have thought of as competitors before?
So I think the industry is pretty mature, and we've seen over the years industry coming together to develop new solutions. JSF being a prime example, with Lockheed Martin BAE Systems and also Eurofighter as well. So I think the industry is used to collaborating as well as competing. And I think it's going to be a matter of actually being mature about deciding how they want to operate in this particular field.
So if we see collaboration between nations and then between SMEs, the primes are already doing it, as you say, how do major service firms like KPMG fit into this new collaborative digital world?
So we operate at many levels. So we kind of support strategy and work at a strategic level, but then very much at an operational level, we help organizations understand how to collaborate. My MBA dissertation was on collaboration, for example, which I used on a particular program at the Ministry of Defence. And so I think across the board, we can operate at a kind of tactical, operational, strategic level, working in partnership with clients and bringing clients together to actually think about the real big thorny challenges, but also converting those into actually proper solutions.
And finally, we've mentioned cyberspace, but let's take a look now at the other new sector, space. The UK seems to be actually recognising that space is going to be an important part of this new defence strategy. What's your feeling about space and what we're doing?
Absolutely. And I think recently we've just kind of set up Space Command, and we have a very clearly articulated space policy. And the civilian component of space and the military component of space are going to be more and more interrelated. But I think across the board, we're beginning to see all countries that have aspirations to develop technologically also need to invest in space. And I think UK is very much at the forefront of that thinking and bringing together not only the three domains of land, sea, and air, as you started off earlier, but also cyber and space as kind of military domains, I think is really important, not only from a defensive perspective in terms of keeping the country safe, but also from an economic prosperity perspective.
Thanks, Jonathan. I must say the thing that I find the most mind-boggling is the amount of data that's going to be collated and brought together, whether it's from space or even from one of the new ships with all those millions of data points. It really is quite incredible. Jonathan, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Not at all. Thank you.
Well, you can find out a lot more about this new defence world by visiting our website, wearefin.com. And also take a look at the KPMG site, which is being shown below here. KPMG will be actively participating in next month's FIA Connect Online event, so watch out for details on that. So, thanks for watching. Goodbye.